and you just have so much for your team here. CDEC, they go into that Lesh, which honestly isn't that surprising. We've seen a lot of teams actually open up this exact same way. Ogre Magi, Gyrocopter, Lesh. And why not? It's a stable lineup. It gives you great push, great team fight early on. You have a great core in that Gyro. The Leshrac comes online really fast. You can't really go wrong with these three heroes.
You really can't. Just pure meta from CDEC. RNG, exact same thing for them though. We'll see their third pickup now. And whether they put a spanner in the works with their draft. But so far, everything is fairly standard. They'll leave themselves with under a minute of reserve time going into this third pick. Leshrac may be a slight concern here for the side of RNG, as it is just such a potent core to have. Even if you don't run it as a core, you just run it at pos 4, it is very useful. They'll go ahead and pick up the OD, which has been, again, extremely popular in this meta, and it's a very, very potent hero. Up against that Lesh, up against that Gyro, and Ogre Magi. But then again, CDEC, they don't have to run that mid Leshrac. They don't have to...
No.
They can run it as a pos 4, we've seen it a million times now, and it still works just as good.
Definitely does. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not CDEC will stick to that choice or switch it out. Knowing that the OD is your matchup, I think CDEC has a big advantage there. They can manipulate that in their draft, switch out the Lesh to that pos 4 role, and really get something going for you down mid that can work out in a much better matchup. They do go with a Tiny, which I guess kind of tells us it's going to be that mid Lesh. I don't see mid Tiny working out any better up against the OD, or it could still be an offlane Tiny. We have seen that a couple of times. Over the Ogre Magi off, though, it's a bit interesting. You have that flexibility in CDEC's draft, though, whereas RNG, they're kind of pretty set with what they want to get done. We'll see how they respond. The Tiny, of course, is just a great hero to have. We saw it to great effect last time. You can just do so much work. It's CDEC's turn to pick that hero up. Ties in nicely with Lesh, gives you decent setup for your stuns, and gives you fairly good damage early on. So you have a lot of ways now to pump that aggression out as CDEC. RNG, they're still mainly riding off the back of that Mirana Shadow Demon combination. The OD is always nice to have. It scales great. It's good damage. It really can work against that jar quite well until the BKBs are up. But beyond that, you're not seeing the strongest synergy. They get the Omni Knight now, so you have sustain, you have great durability in these team fights. It's still not spelling the best picture in terms of aggressive 5v5s, which looks like what CDEC has been really falling back to. Their lineup's much better geared for those big kinds of bombastic fights. The Omni Knight should be able to break those combos out just a bit, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, right? I mean, the Heavenly Grace, the Guardian Angel, the heals all coming out. It's fantastic from the Omni. My issue with that is, though, you still have so much magic burst from CDEC. So that Guardian Angel, while it is going to be extremely helpful up against that Gyrocopter Flak Cannon that is going to be flying out, with all the magic damage available in the world here for CDEC, I don't know if I really like that pick as much.
It's definitely down how you play how you play it. I think.
Oh,
There
I
you go.
see.
So you
That
have the
makes sense.
Bristleback, you have the Omni Knight. This draft has tied itself together. Do I like it anymore with this last pick, Bristleback? I'd have to say no. It still seems like it has a lot of holes that CDEC can abuse. The magic damage early on is still quite strong. It really depends on RNG. If they can get that really good snowball start in the Bristleback, rush towards that fast, put a Defiance into the fast pipe, like we're talking about like 10 minutes Hood of Defiance, probably earlier. You'd want it at 7. That's probably one of the faster timings we've seen, 7, but you can hit it consistently. The response from CDEC, though, Razor coming out, lots of value there, right? You can link up the Mirana quite well. You can link up the OD, that's an even better target, of course, and the Bristleback. These two heroes are not going to be enjoying getting their damage sapped away. It's a lot of value in that mid pick. They do shake it up. They throw James in the Leshrac, go with mid Razor. Really good matchup against that OD if you play your cards right. And CDEC looks to be set to really snowball in this game. Number 2, I like their lineup more. It comes online faster. the win condition is much easier to achieve. RNG, they're hanging off the back of a good start on that bristleback. So Monet has got to get that runaway start. Even if he gets that start, though, you have to always be worried about XM's Razor.
That is certainly true. It's not going to be the easiest game for RNG, that's for sure. It still could go their way easily, but you've already talked about it. It's all up to Monet and the start he gets on this bristle and how effective he can be during that lane. And from that point, if he snowballs, he snowballs. It's a bristleback after all. And of course, if he does snowball, you've got Flywind there with Heavenly Grace, Guardian Angel, which we talked about, it doesn't protect the bristleback altogether, but with a pipe, you're basically set. Like, there's not really taking this bristle down after that. Still, though, there's a lot of variables in there that have to kind of align for this strategy, essentially, to really be pulled off by RNG. I have to agree. I think CDEC is just much easier to execute going into this game number 2. But RNG, they certainly don't want to allow themselves to be knocked out to the lower bracket 2-0 already. They're definitely going to try and force this to a game number 3 if they can. And it should lead to a very interesting match, to say the least.
It definitely should. These are really great heroes to watch. I really still go back to that last pick, Razor from CDEC. I think that's perfect. I think it's really going to pay off a lot. And RNG, they've still got a lot going for themselves as well. We've seen the Bristleback do a lot of work for a lot of teams. If they can get that good start, if they can really let Monet push the limits of this hero, he could be enough to really get that pace going for RNG. It's hard to shut down the Bristle if they hit their timings. Even with all the damage in the world, you'll have to invest a lot of heroes to really find that kill. And that could get them enough space in Setsu to get the farm going. That could get them enough space to get the levels going on Flywind to really start pumping that durability up. So it's going to be interesting to see how both teams do work both of these drafts.
RNG, a very quick smoke up. The smoke basically be used just to get deep wards down in the mid lane, and you can already see the OD's done that. Tried to go for the early D ward as well, but he did go to the wrong side of the river. So, it's still going to be a nice deep observe ward for himself. Doesn't quite get the D ward, which is a slight shame on the Radiant Observer ward. And RNG, they look set up down to that bot lane to try and go for the first blood with that disruption into Arrow. It's just going to be a matter of whether Eve tries to go for that bot boundary rune, but I don't think he is. I think he's very well aware that they're going to try for the first blood, and he'll just stick around his tier 1 tower.
Yeah, there's no need to contest this one. It's a massive risk. You don't want to give that good start to RNG. They are depending on that laning phase to really go well for them with that Mirana Shadow Demon support duo. You really want to maximize that early on. We've seen a few teams that don't go for that early disruption, and it just feels like that duo lacks a lot of impact if you're not going for those arrow kills. It just doesn't seem as impressive. So we'll see just how much they can get from this lane. They are looking to maybe keep a check on Eve, a much better check on Eve than they did in Game 1.
Well, Monet, at least for now, is going to be left alone up at that top lane. They're going to have 3 down bot, so they're still going to attempt that first blood attempt, and FF does show himself now, so they know there's a tri-lane going on. He couldn't quite close the gap to just jump on Eve with that disruption, and it looks like there will be a pause coming out immediately from CDEC. So it will be a very, very short pause. Eve. RNG, they will give up on that tri-lane. FF, he'll just go up to the top lane. He understands Monet may need help later on. And ultimately, with this draft that they have down at the bot lane with dogfights and the Omni, I don't really see them being able to shut down this gyrocopter.
Now, it's going to be a tall ask to seek to shut down Eve without that Shadow Demon. And that's the one thing when you go for that Mirana Shadow Demon combo. If you don't have anyone else that can set up for you, all you can really do is go to the jungle, arrow a big creep, get your EXP going that way, and you can get a lot of good EXP that way. It's just that you're not going to be shutting down this gyro. You're not going to be shutting down that enemy safe laner. Eve should still have a pretty solid start. It's going to be hard zoning out Flywind, so he should also find a farm he wants. But if your objective was to shut Eve, it's certainly not happening when you have to split up those two supports.
Bot lane, Flyman. Gonna cop a lot of harassment. There was no rocket barrage available, so they don't go for the kill attempt. Eve with the level 1 flat cannon just seems to be much happier. Flyman trying his best, essentially just to stay alive in this lane and deny as much from Eve as he possibly can. Surprisingly enough, well, I say surprisingly, it may not be so surprising, Dogfight starts roaming towards that mid lane on the Mirana, as he can't get anything done at the bot lane anyway, so he wants to try and set up for a kill into XM. Even that's going to be pretty darn hard though. XM, 56 stolen damage from the OD now. But Dogfights, he is going to find a courier. Great rotation. He actually gets the wand recipe, which wasn't taken. And now he may try to go for that arrow attempt.
It's going to be a bit rough trying to get that. I'm sure at this point XM is quite aware of it. That ward is giving him a lot of information down the tower, and XM is going to be walking around. Just trying to aggro that creep wave to, trying to maximize his time in lane. Still going to be hard. You have good setup in that OD, but early levels of Astral, the range is just too short to really get the good jump on XM.
XM will not leave Setsu alone. Setsu not going to bother trying to harass back. He just wants to use that Astral so he can secure those CS and get some denies off. But we do have another ping. Arrow will actually end up connecting, and now they can jump in with that stun. It's not going to be that long, but XM should not be able to get away. Setsu with the level 2 Astral, and XM understands he is dead. First Blood will go the way of RNG. And Dogfights, it was a hard arrow, but he did end up landing it.
Yeah, it's a lot of value coming out from that kill. He has been itching for a kill now on this Mirana. It's really walking around trying to find those opportunities. Getting that on the mid lane is probably one of the bigger things RNG could ask for. They're going to be very happy with that trade. Unfortunate for XM that he didn't manage to dodge in time, but they do invest in the ward now to keep watch.
Having a look back up to that top lane, Monet hasn't really been contested too much on that Bristle yet. He's essentially just free farm. Now, he hasn't really found a kill, nor has he completely dominated the lane. As you'll see, 1, 2, 3 is essentially even with him in terms of last hits. But Monet could be a pretty big concern if he's left unchecked like this.
He definitely could be. There's some really good stacks coming out from FF as well. So that could be something they clear out together. Although, Monet, he's still finding his farm, but when you think Bristleback, you think lane domination. It just looks like he's going to be jumped on.
Avalanche toss into the split earth. Monet falling low. May actually go down to the Diabolic Edict from James, but the quill sprays were getting a little too high. Still, the neutral will find the kill. Now FF gets turned on and does go down. And that's perfect timing as well. The 5-minute bounty runes do spawn, they'll grab both top ones, and it looks like they grab both bottom bounty runes as well thanks to the Ogre. So it's 4 bounty runes towards the side of CDEC at 5 minutes in, and they essentially do get the Bristle, just not the gold.
That's a fair enough trade for CDEC. I'm not sure if you're going to be very happy about Monet dying to the neutral. He gets to reset for free, basically, but you are happy with those runes. In the end, it is worthwhile with those added runes coming in. If they didn't manage to find them, it would be a bit of a different story. I don't think that's worthwhile anymore because you just gave a Bristleback a free reset button to come in full mana, full bottle, harass you out on this tiny. But it still works out in the end for CDEC. You are seeing Dogfights being really aggressive in the rotations. It is that first nighttime, so he might try to set up for a kill. Is spotted out by James.
James will pop the Edict, but that'll just make sure the leaf will come out from Dogfights. He's going to continue the chase and try to expend all these charges. Mid lane, Yoga came in, tried to set up a rotation on Setsu. He'll just Astral the Razor and walk back. That'll mean he's perfectly fine. Now, considering the lane matchup, Setsu has done very well for himself in terms of last hits. 27-14 in comparison to the 20-5 of XM on the Razor. And it looks like Dogfights has been caught out. Split Earth does connect as well. Dogfights tries to make a run, has no leaps left, and XM will go ahead and pick up a kill for himself.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate. James was chasing for a very long time there. Did manage to get that nice deep ward for the side of RNG to watch the camps. Overall, you're not going to be too upset. The Mirana is still getting some work done in the map at the very least and giving you information. And when you can't find kills, information's, basically all you can ask for. So Dogfight's still making this hero work, at the very least giving his team something to play with.
See Flyman again getting harassed out of the lane. He'll be fine. He has Heavenly Grace Purification, but Eve is going to start applying pressure to that tier 1 bot tower with James on the left track. There's only so much he can do about this. He needs some help to defend that lane. But now they will back off. He did manage to ward them off with that Purification. But James has the Edict back up and available, and he's already looking to try and sneak his way to that tier 1. In fact, they'll go for a Fire Blast, they'll get the Split Earth off. And although Flyme will just heal himself up, it's just a constant reminder that they're waiting for him to mess up. Though mid lane, Arrow does connect again on XM. Although he very fires up, they went a bit early, and Setsu, Avalanche is there. Now the toss up, James came in as well. And Setsu just walked back without confirming the kill. He thought Dogfights would have it. But Arrow, he connects a Dogfights! How dare you? You can't just do that.
He is finding so much for this Mirana, just making it work. Unfortunate he didn't find that kill while his OD's around. Still, he managed to salvage that situation. Find something for yourself. He already has his Urn and his Boots of Speed, of course, just going around that jungle, finding the big camps. So he's still getting a lot of work done on this Mirana. You're not going to be too upset as CDEC. You still found that OD kill first, giving your Razor a good advantage, and the kill does go to a support Mirana, so overall, it's alright. It's not ideal, but it's nothing to really get too grumpy about. XM's just going to be kind of happy about it and going back to lane.
CDEC again. Going to start applying pressure down to that bot tier 1 tower. Call down, Flywan has Heavenly Grace, will be okay. Rotation was there from Monet, but he actually cancels it off on the Bristle. And it looks like they just understand the tier 1's gone. There's no point contesting any further. James will go ahead and pick it up on the Lesh. They'll immediately back out. Transitioning towards that mid lane now. And they'll see if they can attempt to find another kill on Setsu. So, Dogfights is now the mid laner apparently on the Mirana. He does just roam through.
The one thing of concern for CDEC right now is Monet. His farm has been pretty darn good. He can really posture himself now. He has that early defiance we were talking about. And it's going to be harder to get the kill on this Bristle.
Nice boundary into the 1-2-3. He dodges the arrow, now the avalanche. And he gets out of there.
What?
That
was a bit early from Dog.
He tosses Monet up and takes the bounty. Then they miss the arrow.
There was some pressure on Dogfights to land that, I'm sure, and it didn't look like they were expecting 1-2-3 to actually stick around. After you see a Bristleback who's like 2 levels ahead of you, with that Defiance up as well, you wouldn't really think of staying. It didn't look like they were quite set up. Dogfights just having to come in a bit later than you'd want, which is unfortunate. That costs them a pretty nice kill, cost them the bounty. And you now have to move Monet around. He walks all the way down to that bot lane. He has an Invis rune, but it doesn't look like they're going to be setting up for that.
Okay, not quite yet. Monet though may try and just apply pressure to that bot tier 1. But you look at RNGFF, he is in trouble. Avalanche will come in. Eve, he does have the Rocket Barrage. Monet TP's up though. They want that Gyrocopter kill. They should be able to find it as Setsu, he'll rotate in with the Astral. Now Eve is almost certainly dead. So a 1-for-1, but RNG are going to be very, very happy about that one. As that Gyrocopter was just free farming for way too long. But while all that was happening, 1-2-3 now the Tiny has the blink up. So there's something else you got to be worried about.
Yeah, that's a key item timing here for CDEC that allows them to play much more aggressive. Not that they haven't been already, although James has been jumped.
Well, James maybe jumped or maybe baiting.
No.
He gets a kill. Survives as well. FF going to be chased, but the Moonlight Shadow is there to save. Plasma Field barely missing FF. And so now they find a massive pickup onto Setsu. They go straight after a T1 mid tower. It's a bit of a slow process without the Leshrac Diabolic Edict, but they'll find it anyway. And I dare say CDEC are still in the driver's seat of this game.
They certainly are, at least in terms of momentum, at least in terms of getting work done across the map. Now, they do have only a very slight net worth lead right now, and they have to deal with Monet. Monet has not been turning around, but he is way too tanky to ignore now, and he's going to be making that presence felt very soon. So you're going to have a hard time shutting this guy down whenever he shows up in lane, basically.
Yeah, meanwhile, 123 just finds an easy pick-off onto FF. That's the problem with these Blink Tinies, is once they've got the Blink, every support that they see just immediately dies to the Avalanche Toss combination. And you'd expect to see a bit more of those kills coming out from 123 as time goes on. So FF and Dogfight's going to have to really start watching their backs. Dogfights is going to be there to try and defend that T1. He won't even get close to the tower though for a deny attempt. As CDEC, they clean up all 3 T1 towers very, very early on. RNG, they have done somewhat of a decent job by taking 1 T1 tower in the off lane. And they are going to try applying pressure to this bot T1. But you look at CDEC, they're not even going to try and fight. They're just going to push another Tier 2 tower down now.
Yeah, I don't blame them. They have that early push going for themselves with that flash. Might as well force it out. It's still a bit slow going down bot. They're still trying on that T1. 123 actually goes in and slows it down, takes the creep wave.
They can't find him either. He just playing hide and seek with RNG. Now they see him. Monet just ignores him for now. We'll just secure that T1 bot. 123 continues to be frustrating, just taking lanes so they can't go for a Tier 2. And you look at CDEC, they are still up at top, still taking that Tier 2 tower. Monet will rotate now. Fire Blast will be there from the Ogre. Monet is not going to give up on that kill attempt. He should be able to find him. No, James. Nice split earth will connect, and now James will TP out. And so he will find absolutely nothing for that Tier 2 almost going down. Again, I mean, CDEC with this draft, they're just outplaying RNG for now.
They definitely are. They're holding out on this timing where RNG should be strong. This is the moment when you should be seeing Monet going around, finding all the kills on the map, but he's been relegated to a very passive role on this Bristleback, not getting that opportunity to find those squishy targets in the backline, to force a lane in all the way, to really start pressuring a Tier 2. It just hasn't happened yet for RNG. But this is something they really have to get done. They do Moonlight Shadow up into a smoke.
This could be big. Avalanche toss. 123. Straight away burst down Dogfights. But Monet, he'll turn around on this Tiny. Take him out straight away. And they should find him and do. He couldn't make it to the shrine. Now CDEC on the back foot. They'll go after the Ogre. Monet cops a Fire Blast to the face. But that is not going to save the support. As the pool spray will be able to take him out. It looks like the rest of CDEC do get out of there scot-free. But RNG, that was a very positive trade for them. Finding that core Tiny and the support Ogre for the price of their Marauder.
Yeah, you're going to be very happy with that from RNG. I'm honestly surprised it took them that long to react to CDEC just standing around there. And it took a while for CDEC to really jump the gun onto them over that smoke break. They did manage, in the end, they did at least find one here for their troubles. The fact that CDEC didn't lose anything else is pretty alright. Like, they lost, just the support. It's fine. There is some pressure in that Tier 2 down bot now. This is exactly what Monet really wants. This is the real objective. Get onto those Tier 2s, use your Bristleback to really apply that pressure.
Oh, XM comes in. Nice plasma field. The Avalanche setup was there from 123, and now the toss in straight away with the Fire Blast on that Omni. He's got Guardian Angel, but it won't matter. They've got the damage output just before it even pops. Monet's still trying to run, but 123 with a double Avalanche. Toss back Monet, slow him down, stun him up. He's got nowhere to go, and he's not as tanky as you would hope. And that's going to be 2 kills for the price of absolutely nothing for CDEC. And they start rotating through to that mid lane now. Perhaps try to find another kill or another objective.
That's really not how you want that to work out as RNG. This is supposed to be the moment where Monet is strong. Monet is unstoppable, untouchable, unkillable. But apparently that's not the case. He's running down, he was pressuring that tier 2 as a good bristleback would, but he can't stand up to damage. XM still dishes it out, and that's off the back of Static Link just working quite well with a hero like that. You just get so much damage going on for yourself. You already popped the Guardian Angel there as well to no effect. You didn't even have the area to dish out his own damage. So you're going to be worrying about this Gyrocopter joining in at some point with his BKB all done. And they've really just left Eve alone. After that laning phase where you saw some pressure going on to this Gyro, he's been left to farm up. He's second in net worth behind the OD, but above the Bristleback.
He's getting there. He has the BKB up now on the Gyro. Going for the Aghanim Scepter next, so a fairly standard build, but he's avoiding the Maelstrom. Which I'm a slight bit surprised about, though. Moonlight Shadow, mid lane. XM, gonna be in trouble, but he'll BKB up as well. Goes straight for the Static Link on Monet. That rotation, not gonna work out so far. XM, still in trouble. Monet, he chases him back after the BKB. They get FF on the Shadow Demon now. RNG, they're still going, but XM is still too healthy. Here comes Setsu with the Avalanche toss. 1, 2, 3. Setting up on Monet and Setsu. They don't find the kills, but they stop the kill attempts on CDEC. Setsu cops a little bit of a stun. But Monet, he has to be careful about his positioning. I mean, he's still very confident with where he's standing. 1, 2, 3 could jump in with the toss back any moment. Looks like CDEC will back off and get back to farming. But they'll be very satisfied with dodging that gank attempt.
They really ought to be. It does come at the cost of BKBs, though, for CDEC. They don't manage to find those big kills, but it's a bit concerning to see how Monet melts with a proper initiation from CDEC. His HP was just dropping so fast. You have to be a bit worried about this Bristle. He has about 10 minutes left in his tank, and oh.
Dogfights. Monet now, he does not want to die like this. It looks like he will walk away. In fact, they may chase James on the Lesh, FF, with disruption set up. Setsu's going to be there as well. James goes for a run. Should still go down. Almost takes down FF with him. Monet stopping the rotate in from CDEC. But there's the toss we talked about. Rocket Flare as well. The Static Link is there from XM, and Monet is slowly starting to melt. He'll get the Guardian Angel. That'll stop things. RNG holding the side of CDEC back. They've got the pipe up now on the Omni Knight as well, so Flywind at least has that magic resist for his team. But he's going to be careful. 1, 2, 3 just blinks in, takes a banner in off him. And perhaps with that pipe, perhaps that'll make all the difference in the next engagement for RNG.
It's really going to help the cause because a lot of damage from CDEC is magical. Gyrocopter at this point doesn't right-click like a madman just yet. Leshrac is at its peak. The Tiny as well is depending on that Avalanche toss more than anything else. So you will be getting a lot of value from that item. The one thing that I think CDEC is needing to really address is getting a lot more on Eve and really trying to coordinate a bit better. They lost that kill in Monet because the toss back was coming midway through the call down. Right when the call down went, so a bit of miscommunication there. They did miss out on that damage. That might have been enough to at least do a little bit more. I'm not sure if it would have been enough to get the burst on. But it might have bought them enough time to maybe drag that fight out a bit longer. There is a smoke now though from CDEC.
Who do they find? But Dogfights and Monet. They won't actually make the jump onto Dogfights. They'll leave him be. Looks like they are looking for the more priority target in the form of Setsu on the OD. But he's across the map right now.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
RNG in absolutely no hurry to try and force any kind of issue. But as I say that, FF does have a smoke coming out. They may just pop it and go for an attempt. They'll know exactly where CDEC is because they are at the bot lane pushing in the tier 2 tower. Smoke though still not being popped. They may just try for the tier 1 mid, and that is exactly what RNG plans to do. Not quite as valuable as tier 2s, but it will open up the map for them a bit. CDEC are starting to position themselves. They don't want to allow this to go for free, and James goes after dogfights. Monet now will jump in by himself on the bristle. He'll have Flyone to back him up. They'll find that tower. CDEC ready to back out. Look at bot lane though. Eve, he's going to that tier 3. He's going to push this out while they're being distracted on the side of RNG, and the TPs do begin. Astral actually is there from Setsu. There is a BKB on the gyrocopter. Eve, he pops it, TP's out. Mid lane meanwhile, Monet gonna be in trouble. Still will be saved by the Omni. And so
that's
11
a lovely toss back from 1-2-3. He blinks in, tosses the bristle back. Once again, they had to pop the Moonlight there to get him out. But that looked pretty rough. 1-2-3 just absolutely on point with the one target he wants. The bristleback, just jump to Monet, toss him to somewhere he's vulnerable. Right up to the Razor is the ideal. And just get damage going for yourself. Start laying it in these team fights. They don't manage to find anything just yet, but...
1, 2, 3. Thanking his lucky stars, Setsu jumped in like that. And now Avalanche toss. He tries to go for it. It's going to cost him his life. The TP coming in from James as well. This could be 2 kills. Flyone going to go after the Lesh. The Tiny now still running away. 1, 2, 3. He's actually going to try and turn on Setsu. But the BKBs are up. He's got no chance in hell. And James regretting the TP to that creep. Monet's not going to leave him be. Split Earth will be there. But there's the Purge from FF. And James now will go down. 2 nice pickups for RNG. And they've just got to immediately get back to farming, because they are still not far enough ahead where they feel comfortable to push the issue. So back to farming it is for Monet. Back to farming it is for Setsu.
Yeah, that's going to be the key thing that happens throughout this entire game. You may lose the supports like that. You may lose your offlaner trying to find these greedy kills. But you are buying space for that gyrocopter, and he's been farming much more often than Monet has. You are seeing better farm in Setsu, but that's still a gyro you're trying to outscale here. And we've seen what happens before when you delay a game too long against this hero. It just takes over at a certain point, and we might be approaching that point in, I don't know, the next 15 minutes or so. Although you do still have the saving grace in Setsu this time around, but the effectivity of Monet on this bristle is just going to taper off, just by the nature of the hero itself. Nothing on Monet as a player. There's a bit of a timer in the bristle. He can still be effective, but by late game, you can largely ignore him.
Well, now the Aghanims is up on the gyro as well to make matters worse. He's going into the Maelstrom after that. But with that Aghs, his farm escalates even further. DPS obviously goes up. CDEC, as soon as the Aghs comes out, they smoke up, look for a pick-off. The RNG are all together, and in fact, it looks like they might try for a Roshan attempt. Now, this is interesting, because they don't have the best Roshan pit team fight, but CDEC kind of do. They're going to move in. Monet will be the first one they find. XM, Plasma Field, 1, 2, 3. Avalanche toss straight on dogfights. He does not go down. They do find dogfights in the end. James actually gets him on the Lesh rack. Now, Avalanche toss once again. Setsu, BKB's up. 1, 2, 3 now on the run. Eve, are you going to turn this? Setsu's BKB is wearing off. He does have a Hurricane Pike, though. Split Earth from James setting up on the back. Astral will actually protect him for now. Now they're going to Flyone on the Omni. No BKB coming out of the gyro. He's been arrowed up. He's stunned for at least a while. He'll come back online now. Eve still holding on to the BKB as Monet going to go after XM on the Razor. They're actually pushing the side of CDEC back, but Eve, you turn. 1, 2, 3, here he comes. The Avalanche toss straight onto Setsu. Now the call down, but the Sanities! It's a lot of damage, not quite enough. Monet, he's still alive though, trying to find a kill. He does find James on the Lesh. And now XM, another buyback flying out. This time 1, 2, 3 will be the one. XM goes after dogfights, does not find the kill. 1, 2, 3, are you going to jump? He will not. Monet will spot him anyway. Avalanche, toss is going to be there. Monet loses a lot of HP, but not quite enough for the Tiny. It's kind of hard to say who won that team fight, but it does appear to be RNG.
It does look that way. They did have to throw out maybe a couple buybacks for that. At the same time, CDEC did buy back as well. Overall, this is going to get you that Roche Pit fight, but you won't have sanities when the OD is back up if that Roche is not cleaned up, although it should fall very fast to this crystal. Whether or not CDEC wants to contest is another matter. They do have call down back up.
Looks like 1, 2, 3 is ready though. Avalanche is going to be there, call down to give the vision. Roshan still healthy. Eve still has BKB. Straight on the Omni. Still disruption will save the day. Eve trying to get out of there now. Monet is on the chase. Eve, BKB's up. He had to. Fire Blast. Monet, he'll be fine. Roshan will continue to stand at 2.5k HP. Neither side feeling very comfortable at all to try and go for that. They may even just leave it behind for a bit. Just don't even risk taking it. CDEC, they stick around. They got a double damage rune on 1, 2, 3 now. And if they go for another team fight, this could be great for CDEC.
And again, CDEC has all of their ults up. RNG, their big team fight ult in that Sanity's not quite up yet. It's going to be there in half a minute. They are going to go back in the pit though.
The problem is you don't have the BKB on Gyro available. He needs another 12 seconds. And that's going to be so important up against Setsu, who has Sanities in 15 seconds. Roshan is still dropping. Are they going to rush in? XM giving more vision. Shiver's Guard won't actually get into the Roche Pit, and now they jump in. Still Roshan alive. Call down will come down. Setsu immediately picks up the Aegis and jumps straight onto Eve. He has the BKB. He just got a Maelstrom all with the Sanities though. The arrow. BKB will save the day for the Gyro, but not so much for the Ogre. As RNG find another pickup. They'll spot out XM on the Razor. And Monet will continue this chase. Jules arrow will actually not connect. BKB was there. XM, he's just going to TP straight out. And bot lane was being pushed in by James on the Lesh. He's going to make a run for it. And that's actually a great play from James, forcing them back, or at least forcing Setsu back. And that'll mean they can't actually push the tier 2 mid tower.
And they're going to try with Monet. He does have the Ags up, so creep waves are just going to die. And if he's in the middle of a team fight, that minus armor will be stacking up. 1, 2, 3.
There's my BKB himself. He's losing a lot of HP though. Turns around, Avalanche, toss, dogfights. He goes down. 1, 2, 3, still alive. Monet will eventually find him. XM, do you turn around? FF, he goes down to the Lesh. And it looks like Monet and Flyone are just going to walk out. And had you had Setsu there, it may have been different. But CDEC, they do push them back. They will not find that mid tier 2 in the end. In fact, they hardly got any damage off on it. That's going to make it a 16 to 15, 2k net worth lead for RNG. And Dota Plus, John, says apparently there's an 80% chance RNG win this game.
They do have an overall tankier draft that does maintain itself. You have to remember that Omni Knight's always going to be good no matter what point of the game you are at. And as the game goes on, you know, you lose effectiveness on your Lesh. The magic damage isn't going to be keeping up anymore. You're going to be relying on your Gyro to hit hard. We're not quite at that point where you can say that Eve is taking over, still working towards that butterfly next. I think the moment you're going to be comfy on this Gyro is when maybe at least a Morbid Mask pops out, if not straight up the full Satanic. That's the moment when Gyros tend to be able to hold their own in these team fights. I like the itemization coming out from RNG. Monet with the Ags on the Bristle. Just so much utility in this hero. Very easy to keep your Warpath up regardless of the BKBs, because you're going to be casting that spell anyway. You can just activate Nasal Goop, pump yourself up to max Warpath to do the most you can. Even when your targets are all magic immune, you're still going to be fine. And not only that, but there's so much value in dragging down the supports in armor as well. So you make everyone squishier for your entire team. You start getting work done. Setsu, he has that side of Vice, and his int is insane. He has an insane number now. A couple of right clicks in the middle of a team fight, he can burst the course of CDEC down in a snap. That's the one weakness of their draft. It's exploited by that OD quite well. So you have to watch out for Setsu every single time. The key thing in these fights are those BKB usages, and both teams are very aware of
that. RNG will take the tier 2 straight after that top tier 3 Monet. Feeling much more confident now. Of course, as you mentioned, Setsu is going to be a beast in the air. They jump inside the Vice on XM. Still, Avalanche will save for now. XM pops his own BKB. RNG forced to back off after that. Bot lane as well, being pushed in. They found the racks. Eve pushing the bot racks with his Les James. And Eve, BKB's up, TP's out. You're going to lose this Les rack, but who the hell cares? You got the bottom racks and you save your top racks. And CDEC, they understand they're behind. So rather than trying to fight 5v5, they'll just rat it out.
It's working quite well. I like seeing this coming out from CDEC. We saw it from them last time as well. James was making all the plays. This time around, he's doing different kinds of plays. He's buying so much space for his team, just being a constant nuisance to the side of RNG. They're forced to respond every single time, and the heroes on RNG just don't push as fast. They really don't. They can't out-push a Lesh. They have to respond in time before they lose objectives. I'm not sure if James can pull that off on the other lanes. There are still tier 2s up, but that should give them some space in that bot lane to constantly keep it shoved out.
RNG, they get back to that mid tier 2 now. Get rid of that. Apply pressure, force the 5v5 is what RNG wants. The CDEC are not even in their base. It's only XM on the Razor. Setsu, meanwhile, ends up finding the Ogre kill. It's by himself. Disruption, arrow, will connect Eve. He's in massive trouble. Dogfights, jumps in, still BKB. He's going to try and fight back Eve. He's got TP. He's going to try, but the right clicks are there from Setsu. And that is not what CDEC wanted, but RNG are going to be very happy. As Monet now will get static linked up. He's done so much damage to that mid tier 3 tower though. Looks like RNG will just back off, reset, and perhaps just come back in.
It's going to be very easy for them to get that done. Pretty short respawn timer on our Gyro, but 1 minute is enough to actually take this tier 3 out.
He's going to buy back, surely. Setsu, he goes in with the Hex, straight onto XM. He's in trouble. He'll BKB up. Tier 3 is down, and no, he will not buy back. He'll hold out. Backdoor protection. Protecting the side of CDEC for now. 1, 2, 3, jumps in with a toss into the tier 4s. Monet can't afford to die like this. The Avalanche, 1, 2, 3, holding them down. The Guardian Angel will save. Disruption is there on Monet, but still, can they save him to get out of the base? Not quite. In fact, maybe they can. Sanities is there on XM. He's gone. Now 1, 2, 3. The Avalanche toss was not enough on the OD. Setsu gets saved by himself. He'll jump back in. He's low on HP though. He may have to get out of there. The Rax is still standing. They'll go after the racks first. They should be able to grab it and do. But now, 1, 2, 3, again with the Avalanche. The Gyro is back. He doesn't get the toss on a hero, though. He only got a creep. And so, 1 melee barracks do go down now for CDEC. RNG, they got what they came for. It was a pretty darn good defense attempt coming out from CDEC. Almost holding it back while the gyrocopter was respawning. But once XM died, that was the end of that.
It's rough. Right now, especially with XM buying out that refresher and using it in the last fight, not finding as much as you'd expect, then you've really got to maximize this Razor. I'd say instead of the Hex, if you can, go for the Ags, because you might want to just try to rat out with your Lush and find as much possible off the map. So you start pushing out, you have those you have the double Eye of the Storm, Melting Towers, along with your Lush Rack. I think there's a lot of value in having that happen. I can understand the need for the Hex, though. You really need the control out. You want to be able to take these fights, turn it your way. You really have to hold out here as CDEC. because RNG is still quite strong. They've really scaled up quite nicely. Monet is still having massive impact with his itemization. He has that AC up now as well, so the damage coming out from Eve in terms of physical right click is heavily mitigated now. You're not going to be seeing him melting these enemy heroes as fast. He actually switched out the butterfly straight up for the satanic, which allows him to stand and fight. I don't think he does enough damage to really sustain himself throughout yet.
RNG gonna loop around to that top shrine. CDEC, do you fight? It looks like they are thinking about it. They're just finding their positioning. Monet, the only one showing though. CDEC, arrow to scout, won't find anybody but Setsu. Gonna jump out, Avalanche, no, won't be there. He blinks out immediately and BKB's up. Now, Avalanche will be there on Monet. BKB on 1, 2, 3. They're going to try after somebody apart from the Bristle. Who do they go for? They'll try for the Omni, but they are getting low already as Setsu. He'll jump back in with the Scythe of Vice, straight on the gyro. No BKB usage means you are dead. He didn't have buyback either. XM trying to get out. He gets caught by the disruption, and he's gone now. RNG. A 4-man wipe. No buybacks available on any of those heroes. I believe this is game over.
It definitely is. They're going to be rushing right in. Monet's already set up. He's just going for this tier 4s. There can't be a defense. GG's called. CDEC now. The guy is tapping out from one bad team fight. And RNG looking really good coming out from game 2. Really working their draft. We had doubts about Monet's timing. He played pretty passively for the first 15 minutes. Once he was online, he did a lot of work for his team. RNG just managed to keep CDEC down. And they managed to get away here with a 1-1 score, forcing us to a game 3, and that should be something to watch out for. Both teams really hungry to get into those upper bracket finals.
Certainly so, and of course we will go to that game 3 in just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. It is MLP Dota and Jonix Fire. Hopefully it won't be too long for that third game. We'll see you very soon.